You know, it's funny how people can take stuff that you say and run with it and paint pictures and narratives that don't exactly fit. And it seems to be that's the case when it comes down to me and Canelo Alvarez. Even though I keep expressing the fact that I am indeed a Canelo Alvarez fan, I've been watching Canelo Alvarez, I don't know, 10 years, 8 years, something like this now. Way before he fought Shane Mosley and Austin Trout and all these other people. And I mean, I'm like, ironically enough, I'm probably a bigger Canelo Alvarez fan than you are. Yeah, you're painting the narrative, or you know, you have people in the comment section saying, you know, I'm a Canelo hater because I expressed the fact that I didn't like what he said to Boo Boo Andre. Now, I never said the man's resume was trash. I never said that. Matter of fact, if you listen to the video, I actually said he has an excellent resume. But to say I can't fight this guy because he hasn't fought anybody, or I can't fight this guy because nobody ever heard of him, is to me, it's ludicrous. I don't care who you're talking about. If Floyd Mayweather would have said that, I would have said the same thing. If Deontay Wilder would have said that, the same thing. If Tyson Fury would have said that, I would have said the same thing. If Errol Spence would have said that, I would have said the same thing. No matter what boxer you name, if he would have came out of his mouth and said, hey, I ain't talking about a prospect. That's one thing. If Edgar Berlanga would have came out and challenged Canelo Alvarez, he's like, man, I don't know who you are. Like, you're nobody. That's one thing. That's a prospect. Go make your bones. I get that. But to hear a champion say, I'm not fighting another champion, especially now, I get it. And right now, he's not really campaigning at 160. So that's one thing. I get that. But at one point, you was campaigning at 160. Now, all of a sudden, you're on this campaign to become undisputed. And that's great. You know, go get them belts. I get it. But at one point, that was supposed to be the mission at 160. Now, I'll give him a pass for that and say Oscar screwed that up because you starting to have to give belts back because Oscar them not telling you everything and sanctioning bodies are threatening to strip you and you ain't even getting word of, etc., etc. I get that. Okay, I'll give you a pass for that. But to hear a man say, I'm not fighting a title holder in a division that you supposedly, I don't know if he's giving up anything at 160 or not, but no, matter if he's the franchise champion at 160, so that sounds a little crazy. But you campaign at 160 occasionally. Now, if you said, look, I ain't trying to fight you right now because I'm trying to, you know, become undisputed at 168, that make all the sense in the world to me. But to tell a man I'm not fighting you because nobody heard of you, when I could say, well, like, legitimately, how many of us knew who Liam Smith was? How many of us knew who Rocky Fielding was? I mean, I'm sorry. That just don't hold well for me, and I don't care what boxer would have said that. I would have said the same thing. But, now with that being said, I gotta say this. I think Canelo Alvarez is the greatest boxer Mexico has ever seen. Now, some of y'all not gonna like that. I think Canelo's the best boxer Mexico has to offer. And I'm almost to the point where it ain't even close. And part of that is resume, part of it. Because I'll say this, in my opinion, does he have a better resume than Juan Manuel Marquez? I would say yes. Do we have a better resume than Eric Morales? I would say yes. Do we have a better resume than BERRARA? I would say yes. Does he have a better resume than Julio, Cesar, Chavez? I would say yes. And if he don't right now, he will by the time it's all said and done. If you look at who are now, I mean, we go look at some of the people that Chavez has fought. And I actually did a video about this a while ago, so it ain't a big thing to me. Neither one of the men started their career out fighting world beaters. And it's understandable. Neither one of them really had much of an amateur career. really their amateur careers was their pro career. They started off young. Julio Cesar Chavez started his career in '81, and he really didn't, you know, he got his first title, let me say, I believe in like 82, 83, something like that. 84 maybe. Let me see, 1984, vacant World Boxing Council, super featherweight, yep, and he fought Mario Martinez. Now I've already, like I said, I already did a video showing that after Chavez had won titles, he still was fighting bums. And when I say bums, I mean bums. Like, you're a title holder and you fly. I'm looking at right now, Roberto Collins, 2-15, and you're a title holder. You know, a guy 32, 13, and 14. 31-12. This somebody, you know, you fighting for the super featherweight title. I mean, just go check out his resume. I'm not going, because this isn't beat up Chavez time, because I respect him. He was a great fighter. But go look at his resume. I mean, it's 1989. You've been in the game for almost 10 years. What are you doing fighting? And for anybody, don't believe me, Ramon, I'm going to spell his name because I can't exactly pronounce it. Aramburu. Ramon, R-A-M-O-N. Last name I can't really pronounce. A-R-A-M-B-U-R-U. 0-1. This is somebody Chavez fought, and he was a title holder. I mean, 5-3. At this point, you 10 years in the game, 5-3. And this guy's name, Awe Ado, 5-3. Russell Mosley, 5-3-1. This guy had been in the game at this point 10 years, has held multiple titles. You know, at this point he's at lightweight. You know, like, come on, man. And this is after he had a belt. But like I said, I'm not trying to beat him up. He's had some good fights with some tough opponents. Lonnie Smith was one of them. I remember that fight. Just doing a quick scroll up. Hector Camacho. I thought Camacho washed out early in his career, though. Me personally, I thought by the time Camacho got up to lightweight, he was pretty much a wash. And people might be like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. I was actually watching boxing back then. I didn't need YouTube because I watched the stuff. Hector Camacho wasn't the same after he left featherweight. He wasn't. He had all the potential in the world, but no drive, you know. But hey, it is what it is. Go look at his resume. All his big fights he lost, except for maybe Edwin Rosario, and that's off my dome. I ain't gotta look that up. But look at how many big fights Camacho been in, and you tell me one outside of Edwin Rosario. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta give Boom Boom Mancini. He did beat him, but that was coming out of retirement. So I mean, but whatever. But yeah, Chavez, he put the smackdown on Roger Mayweather twice, matter of fact. But Pernell Whitaker, he draw with him. That's I would say Chavez's biggest opponent, in my opinion, was Pernell Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya, Costa Zoo, Frankie Rounder. These are his biggest fights. He draw with Pernell. He lost to Oscar, but you can say he was past his prime against Oscar. I can live with that. He was. Meldrick Taylor, of course. He beat Meldrick Taylor twice. The first fight, everybody and their mama tell you Meldrick was whooping him on the scorecard, but he lost. But I would have felt better about it if Meldrick didn't get up and the referee didn't stop the fight with like with like 2 or maybe even less than that seconds left. But I'll give him that, because at the end of the day, Chavez did his part. He put him on the ground. So I can't take that away from him. He put the man on the ground. Let me see, Frankie Rounder, he had a trilogy with him. Now, I'm going to give him flack for Frankie Rounder. And the reason why I say that is because he fought Frankie Rounder back-to-back, right? The first fight, he lost to Frankie Rounder. The second fight, Chavez was cut and well, I would say he had an eye injury. And the referee asked him, do you want to continue? He said no. I can't continue. And they stopped the fight and went to the scorecards. Where they do that at? Like, normally if a fighter says he can't continue, that's it. It's over with. It goes to the other guy. Then it went to the cards and they gave him the decision. But I thought he lost anyway. I thought Frankie Randall was beating him. Then in the trilogy fight, when both of them were old and washed, they fought again and he beat Randall out, whatever. I mean, to me, that fight didn't even matter. But his biggest win is against Meldry Taylor, in my opinion. To me, matter of fact, I'll say this, his biggest wins, in my opinion, is against Meldry Taylor and Edwin Rosario. That was a huge win when he moved up to, I think it was lightweight, and beat Edwin Rosario. That was huge. Nobody, now I don't know if any of you guys know who Edwin Rosario was, but he was a killer. He was under the same team that he was a stablemate of Mike Tyson. He was a pound for pound guy at that time. He had lost to Hector Camacho, but he was still considered one of the top 10 pound for pound. This guy was a killer. He was a little monster. And Chavez, he busted him up. I mean, I don't think too many people saw that coming. He busted him up. He beat him up. And matter of fact, I think Mike Tyson walked him out that night. That's something you just did not see with Edwin Rosario, but he did that to him. So that, to me, that was his biggest win. Also, he beat who was it? Jose Ramirez. That was a pretty big win too. That another Mexican legend, Jose Ramirez. That was a big win. So I mean, I'm not saying he didn't beat anybody, but I can't say he has a better resume than Canelo. I just can't. I mean, I'm gonna look at some of Canelo's stuff. I mean, you know, you can nitpick his stuff too if you really wanted to. The same way I just did. The same way I just did Julio Cesar Chavez. And you can do that with anybody. I mean, whoever. Muhammad Ali, you can nitpick his resume if you wanted to too. And I know a lot of people say that's crazy. But okay, now I'm looking at Canelo's, and their career started out similar. You know, both of them, like I said, really didn't have much of an amateur career. So it was, you know, both of them started, I think Chavez started at 17, Canelo started at, I believe, 16. And, you know, they built them up. You know, he went through the little ranks, got little silver belts here, gold belts there, etc., etc. Now, I think it's 2011. Who was this? Ryan Rose. He fought for the World Boxing Council Super Welterweight title. Hold on, this is Canelo, isn't it? Yeah, this is Canelo. Okay, making sure. Fought Ryan Rose, Alfonso Gomez. See Kermit Cintron, and you know Kermit Cintron ain't a bad fighter himself. Then Shane Mosley. Now at this point, like I said, he's a title holder. Lucius Lionel Coleo, however you pronounce that. That's who he got his first title from. Matter of fact, no, that's the silver belt. Yeah, he beat. Oh, matter of fact, I don't even know what I'm guessing. He beat Carlos Baltimore for his first official title. You know, for those who don't know, Carlos Baltimore should have been undisputed at welterweight. Honestly, he should have been undisputed. He fought Zab Judah, who was undisputed at the time with the WBC, WBA, and IBF. The WBO wasn't considered a major title back then. And Carlos Baltimore beat him up. And Don King, matter of fact, I did a video about that, about Floyd Mayweather, Zab Judah, and Carlos Baltimore. But Don King screwed Carlos Baltimore out of being undisputed. He only got one belt out of it, and I think that was the IBF. Zab Judah hung on to the WBC even though he lost, and the other belts were like vacated or something like that. But Carlos Baltimore really was an undisputed champion. You know, he beat the undisputed champion, so to me that made him undisputed champion. After that, you know, he fought again. Then he fought Matthew Hatton, decent fighter. I'm just gonna skip up. He fought, like I said, Kermit Cintron. Then, you know, the fight that kind of put him on the map was Shane Mosley. Then he fought Josito Lopez, but a lot of people might not remember that. But that was actually supposed to be Victor Ortiz. But Victor Ortiz fought Josito Lopez at that was supposed to be a tune-up fight for Canelo, and got his jaw broke. And the funny thing about it, Josito Lopez was actually a junior welterweight, and he busted up Victor Ortiz, broke his jaw twice, I think in like the 6th round and the 9th round. Then it was stopped after that. Another fight that helped put Canelo on the map was Austin Trout. Then, of course, we have Floyd Mayweather, Alfredo Angola. Then Lara, which was somewhat of a controversial fight. Then Kirkland, Miguel Cotto, Amir Khan. You know, Liam Smith, which I brought up Liam Smith earlier. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Gennady Golovkin, Rocky Fielder, who I brought up earlier, Danny Jacobs, Sergey Kovalev, Caleb Smith, Yildirim, who he just beat, then Billy Joe Saunders. Now, here's the funny thing about it. Billy Joe Saunders could very well be a Hall of Famer one day. Who knows? Maybe will, maybe won't. Caleb Smith, I don't think so, but you never know. Sergey Kovalev is definitely going into the Hall of Fame. Danny Jacobs, probably. Rocky Fielder, no. Gennady Golovkin, definitely. Chavez Jr., no. Unless you count his name, because his dad's going in. Liam Smith, no. Amir Khan possibly would be a Hall of Famer. Because, see, here's my thing. If you go say, like, people like Paulie Malignaggi's going in one day, then Amir Khan will be going in. James Kirkland, probably not, but it's still a good fighter. In his, you know, at his best, he was a good fighter. 32-1 when they fought. Lara probably would be a Hall of Famer. Angola, probably not. Floyd Mayweather is arguably the best fighter of this generation, and you can make the case that maybe even all time. Austin Trout, I don't know if Trout is a Hall of Famer, but he might get in when he get another title. You never know, but I don't see that happening. Josito Lopez, no. Shane Mosley, Hall of Famer, and that's probably it when it goes to the Hall of Famer thing. But the thing is, I can argue he's beaten more Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers than Julio Cesar Chavez did in his time. You can definitely make that argument. I can definitely say that about BERRARA. Can definitely say that about Erik Morales. Now, these are the big Mexican fighters in my time. You know, from like the early 80s on down. If it's somebody you want to add to that, just go look at Canelo's resume and you tell me he doesn't have a better resume. Now, I'm not going to bother looking up, you know, how many title defenses and this, that, and the third. I think Chavez has like 27 undefeated title defenses. And I know people, and Canelo probably will run that down at some point. He'll run that down. Only thing really Chavez has over Canelo, in my opinion, is the fact that he went 80-something fights without losing at one point. But when you look at how many fights he racked up, and you can say the same thing about Canelo, I get it, he fought a lot of bums at the beginning of his career, I get it. But that's because the man was being groomed. By the time, like, think about this, by the time Canelo fought Floyd, I think he had been fighting for like 7 years, something like that, and was 23 years old and had like 42, 43 fights, something like that. But a lot of that was trash. I get it, but he had already had like several title defenses. Had already fought, and this is off the dome, if I'm not mistaken, had already fought 4 champions. You know, so, you know, for 23, that's very impressive. You beaten 4 champions already, former champions, whatever. And that Floyd Mayweather fight helped groom Canelo. So, I mean, I won't take shots at him for that. But Chavez, you know, he started out the same way. So we'll get the beginning of their careers as a wash. You know, once they got their feet wet is where the separation came in. I'm talking once they got championship medal. That's where the separation comes in, because once Canelo hit a certain spot in his career, he never went back down to fight guys. Like, I'll put it like this. As much as I can criticize him for fighting a Liam Smith or a Rocky Fielding, they had titles. You see, the worst fight you could probably call Canelo out for would probably be Liam Smith, Alvarez, James Kirkland, and I'll say that's about it. Those are probably his worst fights since he got a belt, in my opinion. Now, I didn't see anybody on his record once he got a title that was like, I don't know, 0-1-0. Cause that's about as bad as it gets, you know, or 4-3. I noticed I never said anything like that about Canelo once he got a title. So to me, that kills it. Then when you compare what he did fight, like it ain't, you know, a break for Canelo is a Liam Smith or Rocky Fielding or Alvin. Those are breaks for him, not somebody that's sub 500. Not 500, not a journeyman, sub 500. Like, you actually fought a guy that you fought him on his second professional fight. To me, that's inexcusable for any champion to fight somebody on their second professional fight. And you're a champion and been in the game for over 10 years. To me, that's disgraceful. But I still hold Julio Cesar Chavez in high regards. He was a great fighter. Because, see, as much as I might want to nitpick his resume, I saw him fight live. I saw what he could do. The guy could fight. It wasn't smoke and mirrors. He could fight. He would knock you out. He would break you down. Similar to what Canelo did, but in a different fashion. And that's another thing. Matter of fact, let me talk about that also. In my opinion, Canelo Alvarez was a better boxer. Like, forget resume, the eye test, he was a better boxer. Now, Chavez would break you down. He could do that. It's as good as anybody. Great body work. Matter of fact, you could argue he had better body work than Canelo. But Canelo hit with such force to the body, with such pinpoint accuracy. Chavez would just wear you out. His work rate, you know, he would just get on you, just grind you out, just ride you. Canelo can do it tactfully. Canelo he got a little Chavez in him, but he also got a little Floyd Mayweather in him too. You know, and that's a deadly combination. Like, he can break you down without just sitting there riding you and overwhelming you with punches like Chavez was doing it. He could just do it like Mayweather and just pick you apart with a relatively low work rate. That's what we saw against Billy Joe Saunders. Canelo didn't throw a ton of punches in that fight, but the punches he threw, they counted. The ones he landed definitely did, as we saw as he broke the man eye socket. But I don't know. I'm not gonna keep harping on about it, but I just wanted to put this out here. This is what I see when I look at Canelo. I see the best Mexican fighter I've ever seen. The body work, the head movement, the footwork, even though he doesn't get credit for it, the ring IQ, the ability to adapt, the chin. I mean, I'm sorry. And I love Juan Manuel Marquez. Legendary fighter. Eric Morales and Berrara, they were great fighters too. But to me, Julio Cesar Chavez was on a whole nother level. Now, I will say this, and somebody that often get left off the list when we talk about great Mexican fighters, and I completely, totally disregarded him and forgot about him, so I will give a shout out to him, and that's Oscar De La Hoya. And in my opinion, resume-wise, who all he fought-wise, y'all gonna hate me for this. I gotta put Oscar over Chavez too. Whew, I know that hurt, but that's my opinion. Make your own Mexican list and put it in the comment section. Who you got, your top 5, top 10, whatever you want to do. But in mine, I got Canelo #1 already. And in my opinion, Oscar #2. Chavez #3. Juan Manuel Marquez, Berrara, Eric Morales, and I'm gonna stop at 5. But you can do yours in yours. You can do yours in the comment section, and I look forward to seeing what you put up. And that's pretty much all I got this head busting boxes on Fight Doctor.